Top of the evening for me, whatever time of day it is for you. Happy 420. Well, when you're watching this, it's not going to be 420, but it's 420 for me today. Welcome to another episode of Tweed. Lord have mercy. So I did not know what I was going to record today until a few minutes ago. Well, I was initially thinking, okay, I'll do 3 more of the Where Should We Begin the Game cards. Or some more of those cards. Lifter. CBD from Tweedle Farms, by the way. Lifter is one of my favorite strains. Anyway, and also I have no tea today. So I just watched the latest episode of Jerrod Carmichael's show on HBO called The Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show. And my God, this episode, the road trip episode, I feel like that episode right there has earned this young man another Emmy. So much. So okay, let me back up. If you're not familiar with Jerrod Carmichael or his reality show, Jerrod Carmichael is a comedian who, I think it was last year, had a special on, I'm pretty sure it was HBO, where he basically came out of the closet. But he also talked about how doing so drastically affected his relationship with his parents. In particular, his mom, or especially his mom. So if you haven't watched that special, definitely go and watch that. But this reality show is kind of like a follow-up to that special, and it's episodic, and it's basically it follows him around on kind of like just his day-to-day. And he is being extremely open and extremely vulnerable. So much so that it makes me wonder, like, there have been parts of the show that I'll be like, damn, if I ever had a reality show, I don't think I would be this open. Some of this shit I would keep to myself. And him being a young black gay man, and a lot of his experiences are so familiar. I have experienced a lot of these things with myself, and I have heard, a lot of these experiences with my other black gay male friends. I'm just so fascinated by the show because I can't remember a show that's ever been like this or done this. Again, from the perspective of a young black gay, I was gonna say single, but he's not single, but he sometimes act like he is single, man. So this new episode, again, it's called the road trip episode, basically is all about him trying to reconnect with his dad. And so he sets up this road trip with his dad to his hometown, I think Dillon, South Carolina. And obviously spoilers. the whole episode is cringy. Not the whole episode. I would say the first half of the episode is cringy, and there are parts where you kind of get like you feel empathy for Jerrod in some moments, but then in other moments you're like, why the fuck would you do that? Why the fuck would you talk about that? Why the fuck would you? So, prime example, early in the episode, I believe, they're on this road trip. They're in this RV that they have rented, and Jerrod basically asks his dad, like, do you want to see a picture of my boyfriend? Now, mind you, his boyfriend is quite a white young man. And so his father's like, yeah, sure. Basically, yeah. And the scene is, so you're looking kind of over Jerrod's shoulder with him like scrolling through his boyfriend's pictures. And he gets to one of the pictures where his boyfriend is basically in underwear, like fresh out of the shower or whatever. And he sits there and he looks at that picture for a second, and he decides, this is the picture that I'm going to show my dad. I'm like, why? You scroll through so many other pictures and you decided this is the photo I'm going to show my dad of my boyfriend. I was like, honestly, okay, so when that happened, I started watching this episode last night. When that happened, I said no. I said pause. I said I'm gonna have to come back to this later. Because why would that be the photo? You're not quite homophobic, but also not very accepting dad. Like, why would that be the photo? So the whole episode is very like, it's awkward. There's a lot of awkward moments and there's a lot of awkward silences. And it's just like, oh my God, it's uncomfortable. The whole episode is uncomfortable, but a lot of times in a good way and a lot of times in a not so good way. And so, of course, the purpose of this whole road trip was to basically reconnect with his dad, because he's been really not in communication with either of his parents because of how they reacted when he came out. So this, again, was his kind of way of like trying to reconnect, being able to like, I guess, have his dad in a space where neither one of them could run away. You know what I mean? So they're stuck in this RV on this road trip. At one point, Jerrod, like, kind of, he brings up more about him coming out. I think they're sitting in a restaurant or whatever, and he brings it up again. And so him and his dad are talking about it, and his dad basically is like, yeah, your mom and I we didn't know why you started distancing yourself away, from us. And this scene right here is, when I tell you, it hit home for me. So basically Jerrod is like, I keep calling him Jerrod. Jerrod is like, I'm sorry, you don't understand why I distance myself. And so he kind of lists out how both his dad and his mom reacted and how they shunned him. His mom basically told him he was going to hell, and like they said all of these really unaffirming, hurtful, homophobic things to him when he came out. And I can identify with Jerrod's reaction to his dad saying or acting like they just were clueless as to why he would have distanced himself, because that kind of happened with me too. So I talked about this, I think, in last week's episode of TWEED. But my mom and I recently had recently, like last year, had a conversation that was a long time coming. And it involved like her reaction to me, to finding out that I was gay. And so in this episode, Jerrod is like, he's flabbergasted that it's a mystery to his parents as to why he distanced himself, or he stopped calling, or he stopped coming around, or he stopped visiting. And and his dad says basically like, well, I don't remember it that way. I don't remember it being like this. I don't remember it being this type of situation. Like, he doesn't remember it being not a negative thing or something that was even possibly hurtful. Like, he just didn't remember it that way. And that truly makes me wonder, how can the reality of a parent be so different from the reality of a child? Because when I had that conversation with my mom, she said something very similar. And I'm like, I've truly identified and related with Jerrod's like astonishment in the moment. Because you're like, this is the thing that either put this breach in our relationship or furthered or widened the breach in our relationship. And it has been so present in my life and is such a truth in my life and in my reality ever since. And for me, it's been like, or it had been like over, probably like 20 years. And it's kind of an overarching thing that has, for better or worse, shaped you to who you are as an adult. And then once you finally work up the courage to have that conversation with the one person or the people that were involved in this, they're like, what are you talking about? I don't remember it that way. Or for them, it wasn't a big deal. That's, I think, the thing. For them, it wasn't really a big deal. But for you, it's like, this is the biggest deal. So it's this crazy disconnect from a major thing that you know and experience versus something that they barely even remember. And so I was like, gee, how is that possible? How is it possible that you, parent, how is it possible that you have not thought about this over and over and over again and time again and almost every single day and so many times throughout this time that we've been apart? How is it that you have not thought about this? How is it that you have not realized this? How is it that you haven't gone at not one time in your mind saying, damn, that was kind of fucked up. I should reach out to my child or apologize to my child or bring this back up to my child. When I had this conversation with my mom, I basically told her, I was like, I've been waiting for you to apologize for ever since this happened when I was, 17, 18. And before I even had this conversation, it was over a year before I worked up the nerve, the courage, the wherewithal to even have this conversation. And therapy was 100% part of how I got to that place. But one thing my therapist said to me before I had this conversation was, you might be surprised that your mom doesn't see the situation the same way. And that was the truth. And that is the truth with Jerrod Carmichael. But that is wild to me. That is absolutely wild to me. So anyway, they have this conversation in the restaurant. His dad apologizes. And again, it's just uncomfortable. It's such an uncomfortable episode. Basically the episode wraps up with Jerrod disclosing that his dad basically had this whole other family for 35, 40 years. Cheated on his mom for that amount of time, and they didn't even Jerrod and his mom, I'm assuming also his mom, didn't even know about this family for I don't know how long. I guess 35, 40 years. And so in this scene, I can also identify because you could tell that this was a very difficult, obviously this was a very difficult thing for Jerrod to bring up and to talk about. But once he did, everything just started flowing out. Everything just started flowing out. And again, that's what happened to me. When I had my conversation with my mom, it was I was getting ready to leave. And she was standing outside of this house. But I was getting in my car, and she had, as she tends to do, she had irked me. She had really irked me. And so I hadn't addressed her irking me. Not in the appropriate way. I was a bit passive aggressive in my initial response. And so it was the end of the end of the night. I'm walking back to my car. I'm in my car. I turn my car on, and my mom is standing at the garage door or whatever, just kind of, waiting for me to leave or whatever. And so I sit in the car, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, if I don't have this conversation now, if I pull off, if I leave this house now, this is just going to be another time that another opportunity that I will have not taken to have this conversation. And I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to continue this cycle of being annoyed and upset and passive aggressive because I'm not saying the thing or the things that I really want to say. So I sat in the car, and the car was running, and I said, all right, TJ, do this. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. This is your time. And so I turned the car off. I got out of the car. I closed the door, and I looked over at my mom, and I said, come here. So I opened the conversation, and it was difficult, but at a certain point, everything just flowed out. And it was just, it was eloquent. It was eloquent. And it just all flowed out. And that's what happened in this episode. He kind of went back and forth for a little while with his dad, and then it just all flowed out. And it was a beautiful purging of grievances, and it was really a beautiful expression. It was a beautiful adult moment where this son is really expressing himself as he truly wants to his parent, madam, to his parent. You can tell he's getting everything he has felt off his chest. And at a certain point, his dad says something, and you can tell he's feeling kind of beat up. But Jerrod, he's not But Jerrod is like, he's not letting up, but he's also not being like, he's not saying anything that's like intentionally hurtful. He's just saying, he's expressing how he feels and has felt, and he's calling a thing a thing. And it is, in this scene just made me wonder, like, what, how it is very difficult. It is very difficult being the child of a parent or parents that you have surpassed them in emotional maturity. It's difficult being more emotionally mature than the grown-ups that you are or have been closest to. Like, why is it that I'm having to broach this conversation with you? Why is it that you were never gonna bring this up? And when I am bringing this thing up, it's as if you've never done the work to reconcile this problem, this infraction, neither with me nor yourself. And so when Jerrod brings this up and he's really expressing everything, because his dad has never done the work, his dad is feeling attacked. The last thing that his dad says in the scene is basically, you've said your piece, you've got, you said what you needed to say. Can I go home now? And you could see the pain in his face, and you could see the tears about to flow. And I was like, that was this show, I'm telling you, Emmy, that episode right there was Emmy worthy. You could see the hurt on this man's face, but it's hurt that he has wrought. It's hurt that he is responsible for. It's hurt that he has caused. But undoubtedly, he has just simply never even considered how his actions affected his child. It was tough. It was tough, but it was good. I appreciate this show because I've never seen another show that is so relatable. And there's so many, I guess for me, there's so many parallels. Again, Jerrod's relationship with his mom versus mine with my mom. I think he's from the South. His dad is from the South. He's from South Carolina. So I'm assuming, Jerrod, that he was raised in the South as well. I am from Mississippi. So it's like, there's just so many things that I can pinpoint that I'm like, damn, I identify with that, and that. So yeah, this episode, I literally stopped. I was done with the episode and I said, let me go get in front of this camera because I have things to say. Damn, that was a good episode. This show itself, again, it has some cringe moments, but not like corny cringe, just like cringe, like uncomfortable, like god damn. But it's shit. It's good. It's good. Woo! So this is gonna wrap up this episode of Tweed. I hope you've enjoyed. If so, do hit the like button. Subscribe if you have not already, so that these things, the things that I do, if you like or find value in these, will, show up on your feed every now and again. Comment, hit the notification bell, and share. I appreciate you for watching this episode of Tweed. Stay tuned for this Friday's episode of Fashion Show Friday. And I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed your 420, as this is coming out after 420, assuming you even partake, though I highly recommend. But yeah, thanks. Go watch the Jerrod. Why do I keep saying Jerrod? Go watch the Jerrod Carmichael show. That shit is good, especially if you're a black gay man. Damn. Deuces.